Look, I might drink a little more than usual today because, I don't know when this is airing, but this is a shit day because a guy who sat there, Charlie Kirk, got shot today.
Yeah.
And I can't stop thinking about it. And
Neither can I.
And we shouldn't. And if you're on the other side of the political divide and you don't care because the wrong team guy got shot, you. You're what's wrong.
Okay, folks, let's dive into something incredibly intense. We're talking about Charlie Kirk, a well-known conservative commentator.
No, they're the people who don't want to talk. It's my main issue with them. And Charlie Kirk was a guy who, he was always talking. And I talked to him here. You know, the right-wingers say what you want about them, but they talk to you. They're not into this leftist think that the left really has much more of a, I don't talk to you, I don't want to deal with you, you're deplorable, I can't break bread with you. That attitude, and all the right-wingers, they don't have that attitude. No, again, I didn't vote for them. And Charlie Kirk and I certainly don't agree on much politically. But he sat here, he's a human being, he's not a monster.
And a husband and a father.
Yes, and I liked him. I liked them all. They're all nice people when you meet them in person. And they're not as crazy as nobody's as crazy as they make them out to be. And we're never going to solve this unless it begins with both.
Not just about losing a major voice on the right, but about the chilling realization of how political rhetoric can escalate to violence in America, to the point where even Bill Maher is stepping back to evaluate the fallout. The event highlights how toxic political divides have become, and forces a reckoning with how we engage across ideological lines. This isn't just another news bite, it's crucial, mind-changing stuff. And as we dive into Kirk's legacy, it's clear he wasn't simply a figurehead shouting into the void, but an architect of modern debate in America, bold, controversial, yet effective. His work with Turning Point USA built a political behemoth that made politics edgy for young people, sparking genuine interest where apathy once prevailed. His dialogues were raw, unfiltered, and engaging, drawing in youth and showing them how to amplify their values and engage in discourse, creating a surge in young conservative voices. But it wasn't just what he stood for, it was how he delivered it. Provoking, energizing, and impossible to ignore, even if you disagreed. Now, in the wake of his tragic death, those heated exchanges take on new meaning, shifting perspectives and prompting reflection from figures like Bill Maher, who had Kirk on his show multiple times. Despite their differences,
It said, prove me wrong, because he was a debater. And too many people think the way to do that, to prove you wrong, is to just eliminate you from talking altogether. So the people who mocked his death or justified it, I think you're gross, I have no use for you.
The fact is that what he made his living doing, and what he actually did quite well, made himself really good at this, was just going and talking to people on the other side. And that's what he was killed doing. He was literally in the middle of answering a question and picked up the microphone and was shot in the throat. And we do have a serious problem in this country with people who believe that violence is the proper response to speech, and that does skew young. What the polls tend to show is that of Gen Z, only 58% of Gen Z believes that there is no excuse for violence in response to speech, meaning that 42% believe that there are some times that violence ought to be a response to speech, which is deeply terrifying. On a personal level, obviously, I have 24/7 security. I've had 24/7 security for a decade. I've spoken at a lot of college campuses. I never, honest to God, thought that we were going to get to this point. Even the assassination of political figures is not the same thing as just being shot in the throat for the crime of debating issues in the public square. And I thought wrong. I thought that that's not what America is or what it should be about. And we've come to someplace incredible.
But even a seasoned commentator like Bill Maher recognized the importance of debate regardless of ideology. Let's face it, Kirk's engagement across political lines was unique. He didn't just rally his base, he provoked, challenged, and pulled people into the arena of ideas, whether they wanted to be there or not. But let's dig deeper. Because the issue here isn't just about Charlie Kirk's legacy, it's about what his absence reveals in our culture right now. Violence and discourse is part of this conversation. Maher highlighted something crucial when he mentioned Kirk: the growing acceptance of violence as a substitute for debate. Think about that for a second. In a country that prides itself on free speech, we're actually watching the idea of dialogue get replaced with intimidation. It's stunning, but it's true. As Kirk's message spread, energizing young conservatives, sparking back and forths that got attention, the rhetoric around him also grew more divisive. And now, we're seeing people openly talk about violence. Not just hypothetically, but as a legitimate response to political disagreement. How did we even get here? The concern now is obvious. With someone like Kirk gone, the playing field could become even more unbalanced. He may have been polarizing, but he was also a counterweight. Someone who forced difficult conversations instead of letting them get buried under anger or silence. And listen to this: recent polls are painting a pretty grim picture. A shocking percentage of younger generations actually believe that using violence to shut down speech they don't like is acceptable. Let that sink in. That's terrifying. The very culture of dialogue, the one Kirk actively encouraged, sometimes with fire, sometimes with controversy, but always with words, is teetering on the brink of extinction. With his passing, some fear the scales may tip further toward extremism, where shutting people down becomes the norm instead of hearing them out. This is where Maher's comments really struck a nerve, because they reflect a broader societal issue, one Kirk himself was adamantly against. Agree with him or not, his philosophy was simple: debate me, don't silence me. Defend your point with logic, facts, and words, not with fists, not with threats, not with mob tactics. That was the fabric of his legacy, and that's why it matters that someone like Maher, who represents the opposite side of the political spectrum, is standing there saying the same thing. Shutting down conversations with violence is not just wrong, it's dangerous, and it erodes the foundation of democracy itself. That's the bigger point here. Kirk may be gone, but the challenge he posed to America remains. Will we keep fighting with ideas, or will we let the culture of dialogue collapse into something darker?
I love to have people like Charlie Kirk sit there as he did, because I'm not going to agree with most of what he says.
Yeah.
First of all, he was very Christy and all that.
Yeah.
I'm an atheist, but it's okay. He's a human being and not a dummy. And unless people get it through their thick f***ing skulls, you're going to have to talk to people. Let me tell you something, Bill. We've had over 200 guests here sitting in that chair. I would guess at least a quarter of them say something that is full-on bonkers, in my view.
Okay.
You know, you've just got to get over yourself and talk to these people. And for all those holes who are like, you know, I can't believe you talked to Trump. Okay, I'm not even going to go into why that's such a stupid opinion, but just where does it end? All right, I can't talk to him. Who's next? People who voted for him? Can I not talk to Joe Rogan?
Right.
Can't even talk to him. What about Sylvester Stallone? He's such a great guy. Stallone, Rocky. Really? I can't talk to him? Fuck off with this bullshit.
Yeah.
We really need to take this seriously. Kirk's death has, in a way, prompted people to look inward and reflect on what it truly means to be part of a democratic society. And the fact that even Bill Maher recognizes how dangerous it is to lose the ability to talk says a lot. Every shocking detail surrounding Kirk's demise serves as a stark reminder of what we stand to lose if dialogue is replaced by division, fear, or violence. And it forces us to pause and think about the value of open discourse. These are exactly the kinds of reflections Kirk himself would have animatedly discussed in a campus auditorium, challenging students to expand their understanding and engage in meaningful conversations. Yet amid all the gloom, there is a spark, a ray of hope emerging from young conservatives who looked up to him. His organization, Turning Point USA, hasn't crumbled under this enormous loss. Instead, it's inspired a resurgence to carry on his mission and keep the discussion alive. Thousands of new chapter requests have poured in since his death, a testament to his enduring influence and the idea that dialogue does not have to stop, which in itself is a beacon of hope in these dark times. So, let's take this opportunity, like Charlie himself would have, to talk to each other, not at each other, and think about how this event might change the way we handle debates and discourse in the future. I'd love to hear what you think. Drop a comment below and let's get a conversation going. Because honestly, that's exactly what Charlie would have wanted.